I stood in front of the floor-length mirror, adjusting my emerald cocktail dress, while my mother's words from this morning echoed in my head. Try not to embarrass your sister at her engagement party, Juliet. For once. My name is Juliet Hunt, and I've spent 28 years being reminded that I'm the family disappointment. The black sheep. The daughter who dared to chase a career instead of a husband. Jules! Mia burst into my bedroom, already dressed in a sleek black number. You're not going to believe what I just overheard downstairs. I turned to face my best friend, recognizing the look that meant drama was brewing. What now? Your mother's practically bouncing off the walls, telling everyone how she has this wonderful surprise planned for Selena during the toast. Mia's eyes narrowed. Something about securing her future. My stomach clenched. Of course she does. I grabbed my clutch, checking one last time that the folded documents were safely inside. Did you see if Gage arrived yet? Your lawyer? He's already there, looking sharp in a gray suit. But Jules, why did you invite him? You know your mom hates when you bring outsiders to family events. I smiled, a cold little thing that didn't reach my eyes. Let's just say I have a surprise of my own planned. The drive to the country club was tense. Through the windshield, I watched storm clouds gathering on the horizon, fitting weather for what was about to unfold. Inside, the ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and white roses, my sister Selena's favorite. She stood in the center of an adoring crowd, radiant in white, her new engagement ring catching the light. Our mother Eva hovered nearby, beaming with pride. Juliet? My father's voice made me turn. You came. Did you think I wouldn't? He shifted uncomfortably. Your mother was concerned. That I'd ruin precious Selena's big day? I kept my voice low. Don't worry, Dad. I'm just here to witness everything. His eyes flickered to the documents in my clutch. But before he could speak, my sister's voice rang out. Julie, you actually showed up. Selena air-kissed my cheek, her smile razor-sharp. And you're wearing green. How brave of you. You know it washes you out completely, right? I spotted Gage across the room, giving me a subtle nod. You look beautiful, Selena. Congratulations. Thanks. Lincoln and I are just so blessed. She grabbed her fiancé's arm possessively. Aren't we, darling? Lincoln smiled tightly. Absolutely. His eyes met mine for a moment too long, and I caught something there. Uncertainty? Fear? The next hour was a blur of fake smiles and pointed comments. Aunt Jolie cornered me by the bar. Still single, dear? You know my friend's son is a doctor. Cousin Caden. Heard your startup's struggling. Should have stuck with a nice, safe corporate job. I kept my responses minimal and my glass full, watching my mother work the room. She was practically glowing, stopping to whisper with various guests, building anticipation for whatever announcement she had planned. Finally, she clinked her glass for attention. Everyone, please gather round. I have wonderful news to share about our beloved Selena's future. The crowd hushed. Gage moved closer to my position near the back. As you know, my father, Selena and Juliet's grandfather, left a substantial trust fund for his grandchildren. Eva's voice carried clearly. He always believed in investing in the future of those who honor family traditions. My fingers tightened around my clutch. Today, I'm overjoyed to announce that we'll be using these funds to purchase Selena and Lincoln their dream home. The perfect start for the perfect couple. Applause erupted. Selena squealed in delight, while Lincoln's face remained carefully neutral. Of course, my mother continued, her eyes finding mine in the crowd. This means adjusting the original distribution. But I'm sure Juliet understands that her sister's needs must come first. After all, Selena has chosen to build a proper family, while some of us... She let the implication hang. The room grew uncomfortably quiet. I felt dozens of eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. Some pitying, others smirking. Mia squeezed my arm in support, but I was already reaching for the documents in my clutch. My hands didn't shake at all. "Actually, Mother," I said, my voice carrying across the sudden silence, "I think it's time we discuss the real terms of Grandfather's trust." I nodded to Gage, who stepped forward with his own folder, and I brought someone to help explain them properly. The color drained from my mother's face as Gage approached the center of the room. She knew in that moment that her perfect plan was about to shatter, and I was going to enjoy every second of it. Ava recovered quickly, her society smile snapping back into place. "Darling, this isn't the time or place for your dramatics. We can discuss any concerns you have privately." "Oh, but you made this public, Mother." I gestured to the gathered crowd. "You chose to announce your plans for my trust fund in front of everyone. So let's continue with full transparency, shall we?" Selena stepped forward, her white dress rustling. "Julie, you're embarrassing yourself. Just stop." "Actually," Gage spoke up, his professional tone cutting through the tension, "I believe Ms. Hunt has every right to address this matter, given the circumstances." "And who exactly are you?" Ava's voice dripped with disdain. "Gage Perry, legal counsel." He opened his folder. "I'm here to clarify the terms of Howard Hunt's trust fund, established in 2010 for his granddaughter, Juliet." My father finally broke his silence. "We don't need lawyers at an engagement party." "Apparently we do," I countered, "since you're all so confused about who controls Grandfather's money." Ava's laugh was sharp. "There's nothing confusing about it. As executor—" "You were never the executor," I cut in. "Grandfather named me as sole beneficiary and controller of the trust upon meeting specific conditions. Which I did, 6 months ago." The room erupted in whispers. I saw Aunt Jolie's hand fly to her throat, while Cousin Caden stopped mid-drink. "That's impossible," Selena snapped. "Grandfather would never—" Fourth paragraph, page 2. Gage held up the document. "The beneficiary gains full control upon either completing a master's degree in business or successfully running a profitable company for 2 years. Juliet has done both." Lincoln stepped away from Selena, his expression unreadable. "Smart man." "Those documents could be forged," Eva said desperately. "We'll need our own lawyers to verify." "By all means," Gage replied smoothly. "Though the trust administrators at First National have already authenticated everything. They're expecting your call, actually." The whispers grew louder. I caught fragments. "Eva said she had authority." "Been planning that house purchase for months." "What else hasn't she told us?" "Mother," I said, keeping my voice steady, "did you already make promises about this money? Perhaps to a real estate agent? Or put down deposits?" Ava's face went from red to white. "Bingo." "You didn't," my father breathed. "Eva, tell me you didn't commit funds you don't control." The silence was damning. Selena's perfect composure cracked. "But you said everything was arranged. The house, the renovations. It was supposed to be your wedding present," Eva said weakly. "Juliet was never going to use the money properly anyway. She wastes everything on that ridiculous business of hers." "My profitable business," I corrected. "The one that helped me meet Grandfather's conditions. The one you called a hobby and refused to support." Mia appeared at my side with a fresh drink. I took it gratefully, watching my mother's carefully constructed plan collapse. "This is spiteful," Selena hissed. "You're just jealous because Lincoln chose me instead of you." The room got very quiet. Lincoln choked on his champagne. I couldn't help but laugh. "Is that what she told you, Selena? That I wanted Lincoln?" I turned to her fiancé. "No offense, but you were never my type. Though I do wonder if you knew about their little financial scheme." Lincoln raised his hands. "I was told the house was a gift from family funds. That's all." "It was going to be," Eva insisted. "Juliet, please. We can work something out. A loan, perhaps?" "No." The word rang with finality. You don't get to take what's mine anymore. Not my money, not my dignity, not my reputation. I turned to address the stunned guests. For years, they've painted me as the family failure, the rebellious daughter who couldn't meet expectations. Well, guess what? I met every single condition grandfather set. I built something of my own, and I did it while they were making plans to steal my inheritance. We weren't stealing, Selena protested, but her voice was small. Really? I pulled out another document. Then explain this loan application with my forged signature. The one you submitted last month. Ava swayed on her feet. My father had to grab her arm to steady her. Gage has copies of everything, I continued. The fraudulent applications, the correspondence with realtors, the contracts drawn up in my name without my knowledge. Would you like him to share those too? That's enough, my father said hoarsely. No, Dad. For once in my life, it's not enough. I raised my glass. To the happy couple. I wish you luck finding a house you can actually afford. I drained my drink and turned to leave, but not before catching Aunt Jolie's whispered words to her neighbor. Eva always said Juliet was the problem child. Looks like she was wrong about that too. Juliet, wait! My father's voice followed me into the hallway. I kept walking, Mia and Gage flanking me like bodyguards. Let her go, Tobias, Eva called out. She's made her choice. I spun around. My choice? You tried to steal millions from me, and I'm the one making bad choices? The party guests were spilling into the hallway now, drawn to the unfolding drama like moths to flame. Eva must have noticed, because she lowered her voice to a harsh whisper. We should discuss this privately. Why? Scared what else might come out? I pulled another document from my clutch. Like the fact that this isn't the first time you've helped yourself to money that isn't yours? Eva lunged for the paper, but Gage stepped between us. I wouldn't, he warned. Attempting to destroy evidence won't help your situation. Evidence of what? My father asked. Dad, remember Aunt Sarah's inheritance? The one that mysteriously got tied up in probate for 3 years? His face went slack. Eva. It was a loan, she said quickly. I paid it back. After she threatened legal action, I added. Funny how that keeps happening. Selena pushed through the crowd, Lincoln trailing behind her. You're lying. Mom would never... Ask her about Cousin Robert's college fund, I interrupted. Or Uncle David's retirement account. It's amazing how many family members trusted you to handle their finances, Mother. The whispers grew louder. I saw recognition dawn on several faces. Other victims of Eva's financial manipulations putting the pieces together. I did what I had to do for this family. Eva's composure finally cracked. To maintain our position, our reputation. You mean your reputation, I corrected. Your social standing, your perfect image. Everything I did was for Selena's future. The words hung in the air. I watched my sister's face crumple as she realized what our mother had just admitted. Only Selena's future? My father asked quietly. What about Juliet? Eva waved dismissively. Juliet chose to abandon family values. She rejected everything we stand for. I rejected your control, I said. There's a difference. You ungrateful little... Eva started forward again, but this time it was Lincoln who caught her arm. That's enough, Eva. His voice was firm. You're only making things worse. Selena stared at her fiancé. Lincoln? I'm sorry, but this has to stop. He turned to me. How long have you known about all this? A few months. After I discovered the forged loan applications, I had Gage investigate everything. Turns out Mother's been playing financial shell games for years. They weren't games, Eva protested. I was investing in our family's future. By committing fraud? Gage asked mildly. That's an interesting investment strategy. Aunt Jolie stepped forward. Eva, is this why you insisted on managing my divorce settlement? The blood drained from my mother's face. I think, Gage said smoothly, Several people here might want to review their financial records. My office would be happy to assist. You planned this, Selena accused me. You deliberately waited until my engagement party to humiliate us.
No, sister dear. Mother did that when she decided to announce stealing my trust fund in front of everyone. I smiled coldly. I just decided to tell the truth. The truth? Eva laughed hysterically. The truth is, you've always been jealous of Selena, always trying to overshadow her special moments.
Special moments like when you used my college fund for her sweet 16 party? Or when you convinced grandfather I was too irresponsible to handle my inheritance? I stepped closer. I've got copies of those letters too, Mother. The ones where you painted me as an unstable disappointment while begging him to give you control of the trust. For once, Eva had no response. My father's voice was heavy. How much, Eva? How much have you taken from others? Tobias, I can explain.
How much? The silence stretched. Finally, Gage spoke. Based on our investigation, approximately $2.3 million over the past decade. The gasps were audible. Someone dropped a glass. Don't worry, I announced to the shocked crowd. Anyone who's been affected will be receiving detailed documentation from Gage's office. I'm sure the police will be interested too.
The police? Selena squeaked. Fraud is a crime, sis. So is forgery. I turned to leave again, then paused. Oh, and Mother? Don't bother trying to access any accounts tonight. They've all been frozen pending investigation. As I walked away, I heard the chaos erupting behind me. Accusations, crying, demands for explanations. But it was Lincoln's voice that carried clearest. Selena, we need to talk about this wedding. Perfect timing. Because there was still so much more they didn't know about the happy couple. The morning after the engagement party, I sat in Gage's office reviewing bank statements while my phone buzzed constantly with family drama. Your mother's been busy, Gage said, sliding another document across his desk. Look at these transfers. I studied the paper. All going to an account in Selena's name? Not exactly. He tapped the routing number. It's registered to a shell company. Guess who's the silent partner? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Lincoln's name. I showed it to Gage. Take it, he said. Could be interesting. I answered on speaker. This is unexpected. Juliet. Lincoln's voice was tense. We need to meet. Privately. Why would I want to do that? Because I have information you might find useful about Eva and Selena's other activities. I caught Gage's raised eyebrow. When and where? The coffee shop on 5th. 1 hour? Make it the restaurant at the Marriott, I countered. More witnesses, less chance of drama. He agreed and hung up. Gage leaned back in his chair. Want me there? No, but have Mia grab a table nearby, just in case. An hour later, I watched Lincoln fidget with his water glass across the table. He looked like he hadn't slept. Talk, I said. First, I need to know something. He glanced around before continuing. How much do you already know about the real estate deals? Which ones? The fraudulent loan applications or the property flip schemes? He winced. Both. But mainly the flips. Did you know Eva's been using insider information from her position on the city council? Now that was interesting. Tell me more. She's been tipping Selena off about upcoming development projects. They buy properties cheap, wait for the announcements, then sell at massive profits. He ran a hand through his hair. That's how they could afford that house they promised to buy us. It wasn't just your trust fund they were counting on. And you're just now developing a conscience about this? I didn't know at first, he protested. Selena said her mom was just good at predicting market trends. Then I found documents. He pulled out his phone, showing me photos of paperwork. Forward those to me. Already sent them to your lawyer. Look, Juliet, there's more. The shell company you found? It's not just Eva and Selena. There are other council members involved. I sat back. You're talking about a corruption scandal. I'm talking about saving myself, he corrected. I'm on some of those documents as a potential buyer. If this comes out— When? I interrupted. When this comes out. He paled. I'm cooperating. That has to count for something. We'll see. I studied him. Why tell me this now? Why not earlier? Because until yesterday, I thought Selena was the victim of her mother's schemes too. But the way she reacted when everything came out— He shook his head. She knew. She's been actively involved from the start. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Eva just walked into the lobby. Time to go, I told Lincoln. Send everything you have to Gage. And Lincoln, if you're lying about any of this— I'm not, I swear. He stood quickly. One more thing. Check into property purchases around the old factory district. That's their next target. I left through the kitchen just as Eva entered the restaurant. Through the window, I watched her confront Lincoln, her face twisted with rage. Back at Gage's office, Mia was waiting with fresh intel. You'll never guess what I found, she said, pulling up emails on her laptop. Remember that charity gala Selena chaired last year? The one she got all those awards for? Yeah, well, seems like most of the donations never made it to actual charities. Mia grinned. Your sister's been playing benefactor with other people's money. Add it to the pile, Gage said, scanning Lincoln's documents. This is getting bigger than family fraud. We're looking at potential RICO charges. My phone buzzed again. Selena this time. I read her message aloud. We need to talk. I know what you're doing. Don't make me fight back. She sounds scared, Mia observed. She should be. I started typing a response. Tell her I'll meet tomorrow. Same restaurant. Are you sure? Gage asked. She's cornered. That makes her dangerous. So am I. I showed them the final document I'd been saving. And I haven't even played my trump card yet. Mia grabbed the paper, her eyes widening. Holy shit! Is this for real? Completely. And tomorrow, Selena's going to learn exactly what it feels like when your whole world falls apart. I took the document back, running my finger over the damning evidence of my sister's biggest betrayal yet. Sometimes revenge is best served one devastating piece at a time. Selena was already waiting when I arrived at the restaurant, her designer handbag placed strategically on the table like a shield. Her perfect makeup couldn't quite hide her sleepless night. You're late, she snapped as I sat down. Actually, I'm right on time. You're early. Nervous? She ignored the jab. I want you to stop this investigation. Now. Or what? Or I'll tell everyone about your breakdown in college. How you were hospitalized. For exhaustion, I cut in. After working 3 jobs because mother drained my tuition fund. Try again. Selena's fingers tightened around her water glass. You're destroying our family. No, you and mother did that. I'm just exposing it. I pulled out the document I'd been saving. Speaking of exposure, what's that? Proof that you've been sleeping with Marcus Reynolds. You know, the city council member who's been helping you and mother with those lucrative property deals? The color drained from her face. You're lying. Hotel receipts, photos, texts. I laid them out one by one. Does Lincoln know you were already engaged when he proposed? That's private. So is my trust fund. Funny how that works. I leaned forward. Tell me something, Selena. Was the affair just for fun? Or was it part of Mother's plan too? You don't understand anything, she hissed. Marcus has influence, connections. Mother said, that sleeping your way to insider information was acceptable? That betraying Lincoln was worth it for profit? Lincoln's a means to an end. Mother found him, vetted his family's connections. It was all arranged. I sat back, genuinely surprised. Does he know that? Of course not. He thinks we had some romantic meeting at a charity gala. She smiled bitterly. Mother orchestrated everything, like she always does. And you just went along with it? Why shouldn't I? You got everything else. Grandfather's love, his trust fund, his faith in your precious business abilities. Her voice cracked. I got Mother's plans and expectations, her schemes, her constant pressure to be perfect. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You had choices, Selena. You chose to forge documents, to steal from charities, to cheat on your fiancé while helping Mother defraud our entire family. I didn't save it. I gathered the evidence back into my folder. You know what the difference is between us? I fought back. You became her accomplice. Please, she whispered, don't show those photos to Lincoln. That depends on you. What do you want? A full confession. Everything you and Mother have done. Every scheme. Every victim. Written and signed. She paled further. I can't. She'd never forgive me. She's going down anyway. The only question is whether you go down with her. You're bluffing. You don't have enough proof. My phone buzzed. I checked the message and smiled. Actually, Marcus Reynolds just finished talking to investigators. Seems he's eager to make a deal. Selena's handbag crashed to the floor, spilling its contents. As she scrambled to collect them, a familiar document caught my eye. What's that? I snatched the paper before she could grab it. Is this a copy of Grandfather's original will? Give it back! She lunged across the table, but I was already reading. Holy shit! I looked up at her panicked face. The trust fund was never meant for me at all, was it? It was supposed to be split equally between us.
Mother said you'd waste it, she said weakly. She convinced Grandfather to change it, to make you prove yourself first. While you got your half free and clear, I scanned the document dates. Except you didn't, did you? Mother kept that money too. Used it for her schemes. Tears smeared Selena's mascara. She said she was investing it for me. In property scams and insider trading? Wake up, Selena. She played us both. My phone buzzed again. Mia this time. Ava just pulled up outside.
Perfect timing, I said, standing. Here comes Mother now. Let's see what she says about this will. No. Selena grabbed my arm. Please, I'll tell you everything. Just not with her here. I studied my sister, really looked at her, and saw something I'd never noticed before. Fear. Not of me, but of Eva. Fine. We do this at Gage's office. Now. As we slipped out the back, I caught a glimpse of Eva storming into the restaurant. For the first time, I wondered if Selena and I had more in common than I'd thought. But first, she had a confession to make, and Mother had a reckoning coming that would shake our family to its core. Start from the beginning, Gage said, recording device ready as Selena sat in his office. When did Eva first involve you in her financial schemes? I was 19. Selena's voice shook. Mother said she needed my signature on some papers. Just routine family business, she claimed. The first property deal? No, that came later. She needed access to Grandfather's accounts. Said he was getting forgetful. Needed help managing things. I leaned forward. Was he really? No. Selena wouldn't meet my eyes. He was sharp until the end. But Mother said, if we didn't take control, you'd get everything. The office door burst open. Eva stood there, face contorted with rage. Selena, stop talking immediately. How did you... I started. Find you? Eva sneered. I had your phone tracked months ago. Did you really think I wouldn't take precautions? Gage stood. This is a private meeting. Leave, or I'll call security. My daughter isn't saying another word without legal representation. I already told them everything, Mother. Selena's voice was small but steady. About Marcus, the property deals, Grandfather's accounts, everything. Ava moved so fast I barely saw it. Her hand cracked across Selena's face, leaving an angry red mark. Gage grabbed Eva's arm before she could strike again. That's assault. One more move, and I'm calling the police. You ungrateful little snake, Eva hissed at Selena. After everything I've done for you. Done for me? Selena touched her cheek. You used me. My whole life, you've used me against Juliet, against grandfather, against everyone. I made you perfect. You made me your puppet. Selena stood, shaking. Even Lincoln was just another one of your schemes. Did you think I wouldn't figure out you paid him to pursue me? That was news to me. What?
Oh, yes, Selena laughed bitterly. Mother arranged everything. Found out Lincoln needed money for his startup, offered him an investment if he'd date her perfect daughter. Isn't that right, Mother? Eva's silence was damning. But here's the best part, Selena continued, gaining strength. Lincoln fell for Juliet first, at that charity gala. Mother had to double her offer to get him to choose me instead. The room spun slightly. I remembered that gala, how Lincoln had talked to me all evening until Eva suddenly whisked him away. That's why you pushed them together so hard, I said to Eva. Why you kept throwing them at each other. It wasn't about Selena's happiness at all. It was about control, Selena said. Like always. Eva straightened her designer jacket. Everything I did was to secure our family's position, our legacy. By committing fraud? Gage held up a stack of documents. By stealing from your own children? I borrowed what was necessary. You stole my inheritance, I interrupted. You manipulated grandfather into changing his will, then stole Selena's half too. And now, Gage added, we have proof of insider trading, charity fraud, and multiple counts of forgery. Want to try explaining that? Ava's mask finally cracked. You have no idea what it takes to maintain our status. The constant competition, the social obligations, the expectations, the criminal behavior, I suggested. Don't you dare judge me. I protected this family. I gave you both everything. You gave us trauma, Selena said quietly. Manipulation. Lies. She turned to me. I'm sorry, Juliet. For everything. Ava lunged for the recording device, but Gage was faster. In the scuffle, her purse spilled, and dozens of USB drives scattered across the floor. What are these? I picked one up. Don't! Ava's panic was instant. I handed the drive to Gage, who plugged it into his computer. His eyebrows shot up. More evidence of fraud? I asked. Better. He turned the screen. Blackmail material. Eva's been collecting dirt on everyone in her social circle. Looks like we just found her insurance policy. Ava sagged into a chair, finally defeated. Call Dad, I told Selena. He needs to hear all of this. She nodded, hands trembling as she dialed. It's over, Mother, I said. The police are already investigating the property deals. Marcus Reynolds is talking. And now we have proof of everything else. You're going to destroy our family name, she whispered. No. You did that yourself. We're just exposing the truth. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a news alert. City council member implicated in property fraud scheme. Multiple arrests expected. I showed it to Eva. Looks like your perfect plan is falling apart. She stared at the screen, then at her daughters. The two women she'd tried so hard to control, now united against her. And finally, Eva Hunt began to cry. The family gathered in our father's study 3 days later. The room felt smaller than I remembered, crowded with tension and unspoken accusations. Eva sat rigidly in an armchair, her designer outfit unable to hide her dishevelment. Dad stood by the window, looking older than his years. The police have everything, Gage announced to the assembled group. The property fraud evidence, the charity embezzlement records, the forged documents. They'll be making arrests soon. Arrests? Dad's voice cracked. Ava, what have you done? What I had to, she replied mechanically, to maintain our position. Aunt Jolie stepped forward. Our position? You stole my divorce settlement. I had to remortgage my house because of you. I was going to pay it back, Eva insisted. Once the property deals... Stop lying, Selena cut in. She'd been staying with me since her confession, slowly emerging from Eva's influence.
Just tell the truth for once. Ava's face hardened. The truth? The truth is, I made this family what it is. I secured our social standing, our connections. Through blackmail, I added, holding up one of the USB drives. Should we show everyone what's on these? Don't you dare. Why not? Isn't this your life's work? All the secrets you collected, the dirt you gathered on your so-called friends? Lincoln, who'd insisted on being present, spoke up. Does that drive include the real reason you approached me about Selena? Ava flinched. Because I'd like everyone to hear how you offered to fund my startup if I broke things off with Juliet and dated Selena instead. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Dad turned from the window, face ashen. You did what? It was for the best, Eva said desperately. Lincoln's family has connections we needed. Juliet would have ruined the opportunity with her independence. My independence? I laughed. You mean my refusal to be your puppet? You never understood the importance of appearances. But Selena did. She was perfect. I was terrified, Selena shouted, surprising everyone. Every day, wondering if I'd disappoint you, if I'd make some mistake that would ruin your precious plans. Do you know what that's like? Eva recoiled as if slapped. And now, Gage continued smoothly, those plans have backfired spectacularly. The DA is particularly interested in the insider trading charges. How many years in prison are we talking about? Aunt Jolie asked. Given the scope of the fraud, potentially 15 to 20. Eva swayed in her seat. No, I can fix this. I have information on people. Leverage. Your blackmail material has been turned over to the authorities, I said. Though I'm sure your society friends will be thrilled to learn how you've been collecting their secrets. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Eva spat. Destroying everything I built? Built? Dad's voice thundered suddenly. You built nothing but lies. You stole from our family, manipulated our daughters, corrupted everything you touched. He turned to Gage. What do we do now? Eva has two choices, Gage replied. She can cooperate, plead guilty, and possibly receive a reduced sentence. Or she can fight it and face maximum penalties. And risk exposing her precious social circle in a public trial? I smiled coldly. We know which she'll choose. The doorbell rang. Through the study window, I saw police cars in the driveway. Right on schedule, Gage said. Eva stood shakily. Tobias, please, don't let them take me. But Dad turned away, shoulders slumped. I don't know you anymore, Eva. Maybe I never did. Officers entered the study, reading Eva her rights. As they led her away, she tried one last time. Selena, darling, tell them this is a mistake. Selena moved to stand beside me. Goodbye, Mother. We watched in silence as Eva Hunt, social queen and master manipulator, was escorted to a waiting police car. What happens now? Lincoln asked quietly. Now, I said, we start fixing what she broke, beginning with returning everything she stole. And us? Selena looked at me uncertainly. Can we fix that too? I studied my sister, really looked at her, and saw not the golden child who tormented me, but another victim of Eva's manipulation. We can try, I said finally, but no more lies, no more schemes. She nodded, tears spilling. I'd like that. Dad cleared his throat. Your grandfather, he'd be proud of you both, for finding the truth, for standing up to her. Together, I added, surprising myself by taking Selena's hand. As the police cars drove away, I felt something shift in the room, like a heavy curtain finally lifting, letting in light. Eva's perfect facade had shattered, but maybe something real could grow in its place. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about breaking free of their control and rebuilding what they tried to break. The morning of Ava's sentencing, I found Selena in grandfather's old study, staring at his portrait above the fireplace. Ready? I asked. Not really. She smoothed her skirt. Did you read the victim impact statements? Most of them.
Aunt Jolie's was particularly powerful. I wrote one too. Selena turned to face me. About what it was like growing up as her perfect puppet. The court psychologist said it might help other people recognize signs of manipulation in their own families. Pride, an unfamiliar feeling toward my sister, swelled in my chest. That's really brave. I learned it from you. She managed a small smile. Though I still can't believe Lincoln's statement. The details about how Mother orchestrated our whole relationship. Are you okay? About him, I mean? Surprisingly, yes. It's like waking up from a long nightmare. Everything looks different now. Dad appeared in the doorway, straightening his tie. Girls, it's time. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. Eva's scandal had rocked the city's social circles, exposing corruption that went far beyond our family. Marcus Reynolds had already pleaded guilty, along with 3 other council members. Inside, we found Mia and Gage saving seats in the front row. Ava sat at the defendant's table, her designer outfit replaced by simple business wear. She didn't turn around. The judge's voice filled the courtroom. Ava Hunt, you stand convicted of multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and financial exploitation. Before sentencing, would you like to address the court? Ava stood slowly. Your Honor, I've had time to reflect on my actions. I realize now that I lost sight of what truly matters. My pursuit of social status and financial gain corrupted my relationship with my family, especially my daughters. I felt Selena tense beside me. I apologize to those I've hurt, Eva continued, particularly my daughters, Juliet and Selena. I thought I was protecting our family's legacy, but instead, I nearly destroyed it. The judge nodded. While I appreciate your statement, the severity and duration of your crimes cannot be overlooked. This court sentences you to 18 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole after 12 years. Additionally, you are ordered to make full restitution to your victims. The gavel struck. Eva's shoulders slumped. As officers approached to take her away, she finally turned to look at us. For a moment, I saw past the manipulation and schemes to something raw and broken. A woman who'd sacrificed everything real for the illusion of perfection. Outside, reporters shouted questions, but Gage shepherded us through the crowd to waiting cars. Back at the house, Dad opened Grandfather's special scotch. A toast, he said, to truth, and to healing, and to Grandfather, I added. Who knew exactly what he was doing with that trust fund? Selena looked up. What do you mean? Think about it. He made my access conditional on proving I could succeed independently. He knew Mother would try to control the money, so he made sure I'd be strong enough to fight back when the time came. He protected you, Selena whispered, while I got the easy inheritance and fell right into Mother's trap. Maybe he knew you'd need Juliet to help free you, Mia suggested. The doorbell rang. Dad returned moments later with a courier package. It's from Howard's old law firm, he said, reading the letter inside. Apparently he left instructions for this to be delivered after Eva was sentenced. Inside was a second envelope, marked, for my granddaughters. With trembling hands, I opened it and read aloud. My dearest girls, if you're reading this, the truth has finally come out. Eva's manipulation was apparent to me long ago, but directly opposing her would only have driven you both further under her control. Instead, I chose to give you different tools. Juliet, the challenge to become strong independently, and Selena, the freedom to make mistakes and learn from them. I'm sorry for the pain this caused, but I believe in you both. Together, you have the strength to rebuild something better than Eva's false perfection. The enclosed key is to a safety deposit box containing documents about your grandmother, Eva's mother. Perhaps understanding where Eva's obsession with social status came from will help you avoid repeating history. Love always, Grandfather. Selena wiped tears away. He knew. All along, he knew. And he trusted us to figure it out, I said. To break free. Together.
she added, echoing my words from before. I looked around the study, at Dad finally standing tall, at Mia and Gage, who'd helped expose the truth, at my sister emerging from Eva's shadow. The weight of revenge had lifted, replaced by something lighter. Hope. Together, I agreed, raising my glass. To writing our own story from now on.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I had just turned 32 when I decided to buy my first house. A quaint little place with a cozy backyard, perfect for my 2 dogs. Buying this house wasn't just a financial step. It was my declaration of independence, my way of claiming control over my own life. The day of the housewarming came with a mix of excitement and nerves. I planned everything meticulously, wanting it to be a blend of fun and formality, a true milestone. My parents were the only family I invited, given the complicated dynamics of extending further. As guests arrived, the afternoon buzzed with laughter and conversation. I was in the middle of showing my college friend Lisa some renovation plans when the doorbell rang again. Expecting a neighbor or a late arriving friend, I opened the door with a smile, only to find my mom standing there with Carson and his daughter, Vanessa. Carson grinned, though it didn't reach his eyes, while Vanessa looked around my living room like she had just walked into a thrift store. "Jenna, darling, hope you don't mind us bringing a little extra company," my mom chirped, breezing past me without waiting for a response. For a moment, I was too stunned to speak. "Mom, I thought it was just going to be us," I finally said, my voice a mix of confusion and irritation. "Oh, honey, I knew you wouldn't mind. Carson really wanted to see your place, and Vanessa's been excited to meet you," she gushed, as if she hadn't ignored my carefully curated guest list. As the party went on, I tried to push down the frustration, thinking maybe it could still be a good day. But I was wrong. I would have chosen a different color here. "This shade is so 2010, Vanessa said loudly, eyeing my living room with disdain. My friends, caught in the moment, exchanged awkward glances as the room fell silent. My cheeks burned with a mix of embarrassment and anger. This was supposed to be my celebration, my moment. I couldn't let her ruin it. I turned to Vanessa, forcing a tight smile. "Well, not all of us need to follow the latest trends to feel good about our homes. Some of us prefer something more timeless," I replied, sharper than I intended. But it didn't end there. "Why would anyone arrange their living room like this? It's almost like she's never heard of interior design," Vanessa quipped. That was it. I couldn't hold back any longer. My friends, clearly uncomfortable, watched as I marched over to Vanessa. The room grew tense. "You know, Vanessa, if you have suggestions, I'm all ears. But maybe you could share them without insulting my choices in front of my guests," I said, my voice calm but firm. Vanessa blinked, surprised, then scoffed. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. No need to be so sensitive." Judging by the supportive looks from my friends, they weren't thinking anything of the sort. Despite the awkward tension, I could feel them backing me up. Just as I thought things would cool down, my mom pulled me aside, her face tense with anxiety. "Jenna, could we talk in private?" she asked softly. In the hallway, away from the party, she dropped the bombshell. "Honey, I know it's a lot to ask, but could Vanessa stay with you for a while? Just until they sort out their living situation." Her request hit me like a punch. "Mom, I can't. This is my space, and after tonight, it's clear Vanessa and I aren't exactly compatible." Her face fell. "Jenna, she's struggling. You know how tough Carson can be on her. It would only be for a little while." I could feel the weight of her expectations pressing down on me, like so many times before when she tried to fix things by putting me in uncomfortable situations. But this was too much. "Mom, no, I need to set boundaries. I can't have her stay here, not after how she's behaved. I'm sorry, but that's my final answer." The hurt in her eyes stung, but I knew I had to stand my ground. As she walked away, her shoulders slumped, and I felt a strange mix of triumph and dread. I had finally stood up for myself, but I knew this wasn't the end of it. As the party wound down and the last guests left, the house felt quieter, almost eerie. The echoes of laughter were replaced by a stillness that settled heavily in the air. I started cleaning up, the simple task grounding me. Each dish I washed, every crumb I swept, felt like I was trying to clear away not just the physical mess. Debris wasn't the only thing I was trying to clear away. The emotional turmoil that had spilled over throughout the night clung to me. Lying in bed later, with the house dark and still around me, I replayed the evening in my mind. My spine tingled with the apprehension of what was to come. Vanessa's smug smirk, Carson's disapproving glare, my mother's disappointment, they all haunted the edges of my thoughts. As sleep finally claimed me, I clung to the hope that maybe the fallout wouldn't be as bad as I feared. But deep down, I knew better. This was just the beginning, and the repercussions of my refusal would ripple further than I could imagine. The next morning started out ordinarily enough: coffee, a quick scroll through emails, and a mental to-do list for the day. But that normalcy shattered with a ping from my phone, a security alert from my home system. Panic gripped my chest as I viewed the live feed. Someone was at my house. I rushed home, my mind racing with possibilities. Nothing prepared me for what I found. The locks had been changed. My key was useless against the new mechanism. Peering through the window, my blood boiled as I saw Vanessa lounging on my sofa, a smug smile plastered across her face. "What are you doing in my house?" I shouted through the door. The door swung open, and there stood Carson, grinning wide and unwelcoming. "Oh, Jenna, we thought we'd take you up on that offer to stay. After all," he sneered, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. "There was no offer, Carson. Get out of my house now," I snapped, my voice sharp with a command I hoped would cut through his arrogance. Carson leaned lazily against the doorframe, his posture relaxed in stark contrast to the rising anger in my voice. Now, Jenna, let's not be hasty. You wouldn't want to upset your mother, would you? You know how she feels about the police." His words hit their mark. Carson knew exactly how to manipulate the situation. My mother had a deep-rooted fear of the police, stemming from a traumatic incident in her past, and Carson wielded that knowledge like a weapon. But I couldn't let that stop me. This was my home, my sanctuary. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police, Carson. You can't just break into someone's house and change the locks." His smirk faltered, uncertainty flickering across his face as I dialed. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the street. The police arrived swiftly, their questions precise. Carson and Vanessa's attempts to spin the situation fell flat against the legal reality of their actions. "I have every right to secure my property," Carson argued, though his confidence waned under the officer's unimpressed gaze. "The locks were changed without permission, and she was not notified," an officer said, making notes in his book. The law was clear. Carson and Vanessa had no leg to stand on. The eviction was quick. Carson and Vanessa were escorted out, their protests muted by the firm instructions of the police. Watching them leave, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that my home was mine again, sorrow for the inevitable fallout this would cause with my mother. As the police wrapped up their report, one officer lingered. "Are you going to be okay?" he asked, his tone kind. I nodded, though my heart was heavy. "Yes, thank you. I didn't have a choice." He offered a sympathetic smile before leaving. Once the door clicked shut behind him, I stood in the quiet aftermath. The house felt larger and emptier, the space that was almost taken from me suddenly overwhelming. I walked through each room, reaffirming my presence in the place that had been violated. The weight of the day pressed down on me, a reminder that the battles were far from over. Carson and Vanessa might be gone, but the repercussions would ripple through my family, possibly irreversibly. Yet despite the turmoil, a stubborn flame of defiance flickered within me. This was my home, and I would fight for it, no matter the cost. The silence of the evening was shattered by the sharp ring of my phone. My heart sank as I saw my mother's name flash on the screen. I braced myself for the inevitable conversation. "Mom," I answered, my voice barely above a whisper. "Jenna," she began, her tone thick with emotion. How could you do this to Carson and Vanessa after everything they've been through?" Her words cut deep. I struggled to keep my voice steady. "Mom, they broke into my house. They changed my locks. What was I supposed to do? Just let them take over my home?" "You could have handled it differently, Jenna. You know how I feel about the police," she replied, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and disappointment. "Mom, I didn't have a choice. They left me no choice. This is my home, and I had to protect it," I said, frustration creeping into my tone. There was a long, heavy pause, the weight of her next words hanging between us. "I can't believe this. I thought you understood, Jenna. I thought you cared more about your family." I do care, Mom, I whispered, but shouldn't my safety and my rights matter too? Why is it always about what I can do for others, never about what's right for me? The questions tumbled out, years of suppressed feelings fueling my words. You just don't get it, do you? Her voice cracked, laced with a mix of anger and sorrow. I can't support this. I can't be part of it. My throat tightened. What are you saying? I asked, dreading the answer. I think it's better if we don't talk for a while. I need to think about all this. Her final words cut through the air before she ended the call, leaving behind a silence that felt like a void. The phone slipped from my grasp, clattering to the floor. My mother, my lifelong anchor, had cast me adrift over this. I sank into the couch, the soft fabric offering no comfort. Looking out the window, the night stretched on endlessly, and the once comforting contours of my home now felt alien, reshaped by the day's events. Thoughts swirled in my mind of family loyalty, manipulation, and the personal cost of standing up for myself. Was there another way I could have handled it? A path that wouldn't have led to this rift? As the night drew on, I wrestled with those questions. Manipulation wasn't just about coercion. It was about making someone feel guilty for holding their ground. Carson had used my mother's fears to control me, and now my mother was unintentionally doing the same with her disappointment. By dawn, a quiet resolve had settled over me. Protecting my emotional and psychological space was just as vital as defending my physical one. The rift with my mother was painful, but it was necessary for my growth. Standing in the stillness of the early morning, I knew that while the battle for my home was over, the journey to reclaim my life had just begun. As days turned into weeks, the sting of my mother's words faded into a persistent ache, a constant reminder of the price of my newfound autonomy. Her silence was deafening, but with each passing day, I found pieces of myself I hadn't realized I'd lost in the fray of family obligations. My home, once a battleground of invasion and conflict, began to transform back into the sanctuary I had envisioned. I repainted the living room, erasing the remnants of Vanessa's scornful remarks. With every stroke of the brush, I reclaimed my space. New locks, stronger and more secure, clicked reassuringly under my fingers, symbolizing the boundaries I was learning to set. In the solitude of my reclaimed home, I discovered a resilience I hadn't given myself credit for. Friends and neighbors, aware of the ordeal, rallied around me. Their support soothed the isolation my family's absence had left behind. Dinners, movie nights, and long walks with those who chose to stay by my side filled my days, reminding me that family isn't only about blood, it's about who stands with you when the ground falls away. The fate of Carson and Vanessa became a distant murmur, their paths diverging from mine in the wake of their eviction. Rumors of their struggles occasionally reached me through mutual acquaintances, but they no longer held sway over my emotions. My focus was on rebuilding, on fortifying the life I chose, rather than the one imposed upon me. One crisp morning, as I stood in my garden planting seeds that would one day bloom into vibrant flowers, I realized this was what true independence felt like. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of peace in its aftermath. The estrangement from my mother was a deep scar, one that might never fully heal, but it was also a testament to the lengths I would go to protect my peace. The journey to self-empowerment is often a solitary one, fraught with tough decisions and painful reckonings. But as I looked around the home I fought to protect, I knew it was worth it. Here, in my home space, I was free to live life on my terms, surrounded by those who respected and supported my boundaries. This wasn't just a house, it was my declaration of independence. Hey there, I'm Isabella, a 28-year-old marketing exec living in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm sitting in my favorite coffee shop, trying to focus on work, when my phone buzzes. It's my sister, Margaret. Ezzy, can you watch the kids tonight? I have a late meeting, she asks. I smile, already knowing my answer. Of course, V, you know I love spending time with Ethan and Sophia. Margaret's voice cracks a little. Thanks, sis. I don't know what I'd do without you. As I hang up, I can't help but think about how much has changed since Margaret's divorce. She's been struggling, and I've been doing my best to be there for her and the kids. Later that evening, I'm at her place, helping Ethan with his math homework while Sophia colors nearby. The doorbell rings, and my stomach drops when I hear familiar voices in the hallway. Mom? Dad? What are you doing here? Margaret asks, surprised. I cringe, already knowing this won't go well. Our parents, Robert and Linda, are well-off real estate developers, always with a sense of superiority. They favored Margaret for years, but since her divorce, they've been relentless. We came to check on our grandchildren, Mom says, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. I roll my eyes and prepare for what's coming. As they step into the living room, Dad's eyes narrow when he spots me. "Oh, Isabella, you're here too." "Yeah, just helping my sister," I reply, my voice laced with sarcasm. You know, being supportive. Mom ignores me, her focus solely on Margaret. "Darling, we're worried about you. This divorce, it's not good for the children. Have you thought about reconciling with Mark?" Margaret's face falls. "Mom, we've been through this. The divorce is final. Mark and I aren't getting back together." Dad cuts in, his voice cold. "You need to think about your reputation. The family's reputation. This divorce is a disgrace." I feel my blood boiling. "Are you serious? Margaret's happiness doesn't matter. The fact that Mark was awful doesn't matter." "Isabella, stay out of this," Mom snaps, blaring at me. "This is why you're still single. No respect for family values." I bite my tongue, thinking about Jake, the amazing guy I've been dating for 6 months. If only they knew. As the argument escalates, I notice Ethan and Sophia looking scared. I kneel down beside them. "Hey kiddos, how about we go get some ice cream?" Their faces light up, and we sneak out the back door, leaving the chaos behind. As we walk to the ice cream parlor, I can't help but think about my own big news and how I'm going to break it to my family. Later that night, as I'm getting ready for bed, my phone pings. It's a text from Jake. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Love you." I smile, my hand instinctively moving to my stomach. I'm pregnant, and I'm terrified of how my family will react. But as I drift off to sleep, I promise myself and my baby that no matter what happens, we'll be just fine. The next evening, I sit at the dinner table, Jake's hand squeezing mine under the tablecloth. My parents, Robert and Linda, sit at the head of the table, looking as uptight as ever. I clear my throat. "So, I have some news." All eyes turn to me. Here goes nothing. "Jake and we're having a baby." Jake beams beside me. "We're so excited," he adds, giving my hand another squeeze. The silence that follows is deafening, then all hell breaks loose. "What did you just say?" Mom shrieks, her face turning a dangerous shade of red. Dad slams his fist on the table, making the silverware rattle. "Isabella, how could you be so irresponsible? Out of wedlock? Have you no shame?" I feel my cheeks burn. It's the 21st century, Dad. Jake and I love each other. We're happy about this. Mom scoffs. "Happy? You've disgraced this family. What will people say?" "Oh, so that's what this is about." I snap. "Your precious reputation." Margaret tries to step in. "Mom, Dad, please, can't we just?" But Dad cuts her off. "Don't you start, Margaret. We're not done with you either." A chill runs down my spine. What's that supposed to mean? Mom's face twists into a smug smile. "Well, since you asked, we decided to sue for custody of Ethan and Sophia." The room goes silent. Margaret's face goes pale. "What?" she whispers. "You heard us," Dad says, his tone cold. "With your demanding job and this messy divorce, you're clearly an unfit mother. We're doing what's best for the children." I can't believe what I'm hearing. Are you kidding me? Margaret is an amazing mom. You can't do this. "We can and we will," Mom says flatly. Unless what?" I ask, dreading the answer. Dad leans forward. "Unless you fix your little mistake, we'll forget this whole pregnancy nonsense if you do the right thing." I feel like I've been slapped. "Fix my mistake? You mean get rid of my baby? Are you out of your minds?" Jake stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "That's enough. Isabella, we're leaving." But I'm not done. I turn to Margaret. "Sis, you can't let them do this. Fight them." Margaret just sits there, tears streaming down her face, saying nothing. Dad points to the door. "Get out. You're no daughter of ours." Gladly, I spit back, grabbing my purse. As Jake and I head for the door, I turn back one last time. "You know what? I feel sorry for you. You're so obsessed with appearances that you've forgotten what really matters. Family, love, happiness. You're the ones who should be ashamed." With that, we walk out, slamming the door behind us. Once we're in the car, the reality of what just happened crashes down on me, and I break down, sobbing uncontrollably. Jake pulls me into his arms. It's okay, Azzy. We've got each other. We've got our baby. That's all that matters. As we drive away from my childhood home, I realize he's right. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter, and I'm ready to fight for it. It's been a whirlwind few months since that disastrous family dinner. Jake and I found a cozy little apartment, and let me tell you, waking up next to him every morning makes all the drama worth it. Plus, this baby bump of mine is getting harder to ignore, in a good way. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Margaret's custody battle is in full swing, and it's really taking a toll on her. One afternoon, I stop by her place and find her surrounded by legal papers, looking like she hasn't slept in days. Hey V, how are you holding up? She looks up at me, dark circles under her eyes. I'm hanging in there, barely. I plop down next to her on the couch. Listen, I've been thinking. We need to fight fire with fire. What do you mean? She asks, confused. I take a deep breath. I hired a private investigator to look into Mom and Dad's business dealings. Margaret's eyes widen. You did what? Hear me out, I say, leaning in. The PI found some interesting stuff. Embezzlement, offshore accounts, property flipping schemes. As I fill her in on the details, Margaret's jaw drops lower with each revelation. Holy, I can't believe it, she whispers. Believe it, sis. Our dear parents aren't as squeaky clean as they pretend to be. Margaret shakes her head, still in shock. But how does this help us? I lean in closer, a plan forming in my mind. Think about it. They're trying to paint you as an unfit mother. Well, how about we show the court who the real unfit guardians are? A spark of hope flickers in Margaret's eyes. You really think we can beat them? I know we can, I say confidently. But V, you've got to be ready for a fight. No more sitting quietly while they steamroll over us. Are you with me? For a moment, she hesitates. Then, straightening her shoulders, she nods. I'm with you. For Ethan and Sophia. For all of us. We spend the next few hours plotting, our heads bent together over my laptop. As we work, I feel the baby kick, as if saying, You've got this, Mom. That night, I drift off to sleep with my mind racing with plans and possibilities. Mom and Dad think they've got all the power, but they're in for one heck of a surprise. This mama bear is ready to roar, and I got the truth on my side. Maybe, just maybe, we'll save our family in the process, not the family they wanted us to be, but the family we choose to create. Strong, supportive, and real. The day of the custody hearing arrives, and I'm a bundle of nerves. My baby bump is now impossible to hide, and Jake has been my rock through it all. As we walk into the courthouse, I spot Margaret pacing nervously. You ready for this? I ask her. She nods, determination shining in her eyes. Let's do this. For Ethan and Sophia. Inside the courtroom, the tension is thick. Mom and Dad sit there looking smug as ever. If only they knew what was coming. When it's my turn to testify, I take a deep breath and spill it all. Your Honor, I say, my voice shaking but strong. My parents aren't fit to raise a goldfish, let alone 2 children. They see kids as accessories, not human beings with needs and feelings. Mom's face turns purple with rage, but I keep going. I tell the court about the anonymous tip to the SEC about their shady business dealings. Then Margaret takes the stand, presenting evidence of how Mom and Dad tried to manipulate Ethan and Sophia, filling their heads with lies about their mother. With every word, the truth chips away at the perfect facade our parents have built. This time, we aren't backing down. The judge, thoroughly unimpressed with my parents, doesn't take long to make her decision. Custody remains with the mother, Margaret. This case is dismissed. The relief on Margaret's face is palpable, but the drama isn't over. As we leave the courtroom, 2 men in suits approach Mom and Dad. Robert and Linda, we're with the Securities and Exchange Commission. You're under arrest for multiple financial crimes. Watching them being led away in handcuffs, I feel nothing. No joy, no sadness, just a sense of closure. Months pass, and life settles into a new rhythm. Jake and I welcome our daughter, Hope, into the world. Holding her for the first time, I make a silent promise to always put her needs first. Margaret throws herself into being the best mom she can be, seeing her with Ethan and Sophia, laughing, Playing makes all the struggles worth it. Jake and I have a small, intimate wedding. No fancy frills, just love and our closest friends. Margaret is my maid of honor, of course. As for Mom and Dad, last I heard, they're facing years in prison. Their assets are frozen, their reputation in tatters. But honestly, I don't think about them much these days. One sunny afternoon, I'm sitting in our backyard, Hope napping in her bassinet. Jake's grading papers, and I can hear Margaret and the kids laughing as they set up for a barbecue. I think about how far we've come, the family I've created. Jake, Hope, Margaret, Ethan, and Sophia. It's not perfect, but it's real. It's built on love, support, and honesty. Penny for your thoughts, Jake says, smiling as he leans into me. I smile back, just thinking about how lucky we are, how sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. Couldn't agree more, he says, squeezing my hand. As the smell of the grill fills the air and the kids' excited chatter echoes in the background, I know this is what family should be. We've been through hell, but we've come out stronger. And the future? It's looking brighter than ever. Now I have a question for you. How far would you go to protect your loved ones from manipulative family members? Would you expose their illegal activities, even if it meant potentially destroying your family's reputation and sending your own parents to prison? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey everyone, I'm Margaret, 25 years old and an aspiring artist. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd be sharing a story about how my own grandmother tried to burn me with boiling water. But here we are. It all started 2 years ago when my mom, Sarah, passed away. She was my best friend, my rock, and losing her felt like a piece of my soul had been ripped out. The only thing that gave me comfort was the beautiful collection of jewelry she left behind. Each piece carried a memory, a story. After Mom died, I stayed in the family home with my grandma, Martha. At first, it was comforting, like having a small part of Mom still with me. But things started to get strange when Frank entered the picture. Margaret, dear, have you met Frank? He's such a gentleman, Grandma said one day, smiling brightly. I forced a smile back. Nice to meet you, Frank. Frank, a charming 60-year-old widower, started visiting more frequently. I wanted to be happy for Grandma, but something about him just didn't sit right with me. My best friend Zoe noticed too. One afternoon, over coffee, Zoe said, Liv, don't you think it's time you got your own place? Your grandma's acting like a teenager with this Frank guy. I sighed. I know, but I can't just leave her. Besides, all of Mom's stuff is still there. Zoe gave me a knowing look. Your mom would want you to live your life, not babysit your grandma. She had a point, but I felt like I needed to stay. Work was my only escape. I've been doing graphic design at a small firm, trying to save up for art supplies. That's when I met Ethan. Hey Margaret, check out this design I'm working on, Ethan called out one day. I leaned over, catching a whiff of his cologne. Wow, that's amazing. I wish I could create like that. He smiled. Are you kidding? Your work is incredible. You should really think about doing your own art full-time. I blushed a little flutter in my chest. Ethan saw the artist in me that I was trying to bring out, but every time I thought I was moving forward, something at home pulled me back. Like when I met Frank's son, Derek, at a family dinner. So Margaret, Derek said, glancing between me and his dad. How long have Frank and your grandma known each other? I shrugged. A few months, I guess. Why? His expression tightened. No reason. Just curious. His tone made me uneasy, but before I could ask more, Grandma burst into the room. I have wonderful news, everyone, she exclaimed, beaming. Frank and I are getting married. The room fell silent, and it felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Married? Grandma, isn't this a bit sudden? I asked, shocked. She waved me off. Oh, pish-posh. When you know, you know. As everyone congratulated them, I couldn't shake the growing dread. Something was very wrong, and I had no idea how bad it was about to get. In the weeks following Grandma's engagement announcement, everything spiraled into chaos. One afternoon, I overheard her on the phone, her voice tense. I'll get the money, I promise. Just give me more time. When I asked her about it, she snapped at me. It's none of your business, Margaret. Can't an old woman have some privacy? I backed off, but my suspicions only grew. Then things got worse. I noticed that Mom's antique locket was missing from my dresser. Grandma, have you seen Mom's locket? I asked, trying to keep calm. She avoided eye contact. Oh, that old thing. I must have moved it while cleaning. Don't worry about it. But I was worried. I called Zoe in a panic. Zoe, I think Grandma's up to something shady. Mom's jewelry is disappearing, and she's acting all secretive about money. Zoe paused. That doesn't sound good. Liv. Want me to dig around? A few days later, Zoe called with some disturbing news. Liv, you're not going to like this. Your grandma's drowning in debt. And that Frank guy? He's been known to cozy up to wealthy widows and disappear with their money. My stomach dropped. Oh God, Zoe, what do I do? She replied, keep your eyes open. We need solid proof. For the next week, I watched Grandma closely. The final straw came when I saw her sneaking out early one morning with Mom's jewelry box tucked under her arm. I followed her to a shady pawn shop, and there she was, selling off piece after piece of my mother's jewelry. I couldn't hold back any longer. Grandma, what are you doing? I shouted as I burst into the shop. She turned, guilt and anger flashing across her face. Margaret, you followed me. How could you? That's Mom's jewelry. It's all I have left of her. I cried, my voice trembling with hurt and anger. Her eyes hardened. You don't understand. Frank and I need the money for our new life together. Your mother would have wanted me to be happy. By selling her memories, by lying to me, I was shaking with disbelief and rage. You ungrateful child, she spat. After everything I've done for you. She grabbed a kettle of boiling water from behind the counter. Before I could react, she hurled it at me. Searing pain exploded across my arm and shoulder, and I screamed, stumbling backward into a glass display case, the shattering glass mixing with my cries of agony. I looked up at Grandma's face. There was no concern, no regret, just cold, hard anger. As I crumpled to the floor, clutching my burned arm, one thought crystallized in my mind. The grandmother I had known and loved was gone. In her place stood a stranger, someone who had shattered the last shred of trust between us. The pawn shop owner rushed back in, yelling about calling an ambulance, but my focus was on Grandma Martha, gathering up the jewelry with trembling hands. In that moment, as the searing pain threatened to pull me under, I made a silent vow. This betrayal wouldn't break me. It would be the fuel I needed to reclaim my life and my mother's legacy, no matter the cost. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits, police reports, and tears. The burns on my arm and shoulder were healing, but the emotional scars, those ran deep. Zoe was my rock. You're staying with me, she insisted, helping me pack up my things from Grandma's house. No arguments. I didn't have the energy to fight her. As we loaded the last box into Zoe's car, Grandma Martha came out, her voice trembling. Margaret, please, can we talk? I couldn't even look at her. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. A few days later, I got a surprising call from Derek, Frank's son. Margaret, it's Derek. I heard what happened, and I'm so sorry. There's something you need to know about my dad. We met at a coffee shop, and Derek laid it all out. Frank had a history. Charming wealthy widows, draining their bank accounts and disappearing without a trace. Grandma Martha was just his latest target. I've tried to stop him before, Derek said, his voice heavy with guilt. But he always weasels out of it. Maybe this time, with your help, we can finally put an end to it. I hesitated. I'm not sure I can handle any more drama. But Zoe, ever the fighter, wasn't about to let it go. We can't let them get away with this, Liv. We need a plan. Over the next week, we devised a scheme. Derek would play along with Frank's plan, pretending to help with the wedding, while we worked with the pawn shop owner to set up a sting operation. I feel bad for ratting out your grandma, the pawn shop owner admitted when we approached him. But what she did to you, that ain't right. As we fine-tuned the plan, Ethan was my steady support. He'd come over after work, bringing food and offering a shoulder to lean on. But I found myself pulling away. The fear of being hurt again was overwhelming. One night, as we sat on Zoe's couch, Ethan reached for my hand. I flinched. Liv, talk to me, he said, his voice pleading. What's going on in that head of yours? I couldn't meet his eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan. I can't. Everyone I've trusted has betrayed me. My own grandmother tried to. I choked up, unable to finish the sentence. Ethan's voice was soft. I'm not them, Margaret. I would never hurt you like that. That's why I thought about Grandma, too, I whispered. The hurt in his eyes was clear, but he didn't push. I understand. Just know I'm here. Okay, whatever you need. The day of the sting operation arrived. We had set up hidden cameras in the pawn shop and wired Derek for sound. The plan was for him to bring Grandma Martha and Frank to the shop under the pretense of selling family heirlooms to fund the wedding. I watched from a distance as they entered the shop. Grandma clutched her purse tightly, and Frank's arm was draped around her shoulders. But even from where I stood, I could see the predatory glint in his eyes. As the door closed behind them, I took a deep breath. Whatever happened next would change everything. I just hoped we were ready for it. The day of reckoning finally arrived, and I stood in the back of the packed courthouse, heart racing as the judge read out the verdict. Frank's smug smile vanished as the words *guilty on all counts* echoed through the room. After the trial, I left my grandmother's house for the last time, finishing the final bit of packing. As I glanced up, I saw Grandma watching from the window. Our eyes met briefly before she quickly drew the curtains. That was the last time I ever saw her. With a nightmare behind me, I threw myself into my art. The pain, the betrayal, the healing, it all poured out onto my canvases. Ethan was by my side through it all. One night, as he studied my latest piece, he said, "These are incredible, Liv. You're turning your pain into something beautiful." I leaned into him, feeling safe for the first time in months. "I couldn't have done it without you." Zoe, always the unstoppable force, helped me set up my own studio. "This is just the beginning," she declared as we painted the walls together. "You're going to be huge, Liv. I can feel it." And she was right. My first small exhibition sold out in a week. Then came a feature in a local art magazine, and before I knew it, galleries in the city were calling. The night of my exhibition opening, I looked around at the vibrant crowd, at my art lining the walls, and at Ethan smiling proudly from across the room. To new beginnings, I whispered to myself, raising my glass. And to the family we choose. The pain of betrayal had forged me into something stronger, something unbreakable. As I clinked glasses with my friends, I silently thanked the hardships that had led me here. They hadn't broken me, they had set me free. Now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive Martha for what she did? Is there a line that, once crossed, makes reconciliation impossible, even with family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Linda, and life has thrown me more curveballs than I ever imagined. 5 years ago, I thought I hit the jackpot when I married John. He was charming, successful, and seemed to genuinely care about both me and my daughter, Emma. I already had Emma from a previous marriage, and John brought his son, Tyler, into our new blended family. I was determined to make it work, treating both kids equally and with all the love I could give. "Emma, sweetie, how about we invite Tyler for movie night?" I'd suggest, trying to help the kids bond. Emma would nod eagerly, always willing to try. "Can we watch a superhero movie? Tyler likes those." I'd smile, proud of her. "That's a great idea. Why don't you go ask him?" But more often than not, Tyler would shrug off the invitation. "Nah, I'm good. Got plans with my friends," he'd say, barely looking up. John would reassure me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "He's a teenager, Linda. It's normal for him to want space." I'd nod, trying to silence my doubts. "You're right, I just want us all to be close." Things took a turn 2 years ago when my parents passed away, leaving me a sizable inheritance. I was determined to use it wisely. "John, I think we should set some of this money aside for Emma's future," I suggested one night as we sat together reviewing paperwork. He nodded, but something in his eyes unsettled me. "Of course, but we should think about Tyler too. He's closer to college age." A twinge of unease crept up my spine. "Tyler's mom is handling his college fund. Remember, we agreed on that when we got married." I know, he said, a bit too casually. "I'm just saying we should keep our options open." I should have paid more attention to that moment. I should have seen the red flags. My best friend Olivia even tried to warn me. Over coffee one afternoon, she gently raised her concerns. "Linda, don't you think John favors Tyler a bit too much?" she asked cautiously. I bristled at first. "What?" "No, he loves both kids equally." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? I've seen how he is with them. It's different." I waved it off, more to convince myself than her. Blending families is hard. We're still figuring it out. Just keep your eyes open, okay? And remember, I'm here if you need me, she said, squeezing my hand. I was grateful for her support, though I didn't realize how much I'd need it in the months to come. As time went on, a nagging feeling grew inside me. Something was off with our finances. Bills I thought I paid were showing up overdue, and our savings seemed to be shrinking faster than I could explain. John, have you noticed anything strange with our bank statements? I asked one evening. He barely looked up from his phone. No, everything seems fine. Why? I don't know, something just feels off. He finally met my eyes, his expression unreadable. You worry too much, Linda. I've got everything under control. I wanted to believe him, but then I found it, a withdrawal for $5,000 that I hadn't made. My heart raced as I dug deeper. The more I looked, the worse it got. Multiple large withdrawals, passwords changed without my knowledge. Panic set in. That night, I called Olivia. Liv, I think something's really wrong, I said, my voice shaking. She listened as I spilled everything, John's dismissive attitude, the unexplained withdrawals, the changed passwords. When I finished, she was silent for a moment. Linda, this sounds serious. You need professional help. I know a private investigator, Mike Carson. Want me to call him? I hesitated, then agreed. A week later, Mike called me into his office. The look on his face told me everything before he even spoke. Mrs. Thompson, I'm afraid I have some bad news, he began. John hadn't just been making a few unauthorized withdrawals. He'd been systematically draining our joint account, transferring large sums to an account in Tyler's name. Mike slid a document across the desk. I stared at it, struggling to process what I was seeing. Money meant for both our children's futures, money from my inheritance. There's more, Mike continued. John told Tyler this money was a gift for his future. Tyler's been aware of this for some time. That night, I confronted John. I'll never forget the look on his face, not guilt or shame, but irritation, as if I had inconvenienced him by uncovering his betrayal. Tyler needs it more, John said, as if that somehow justified everything. He's closer to college age. And what about Emma's future? I demanded, my voice rising. What have you left for her? John had the audacity to shrug. There's a savings bond in her name. That should be enough. I was speechless, but the betrayal ran deeper than I could have imagined. Over the next few days, I uncovered even more lies. Friends started reaching out, concerned about things John had apparently been saying about me. He'd been painting me as unstable, unreasonable, a bad mother. And Emma, my sweet Emma, had been caught in the mill. John had been manipulating her, making her keep secrets from me. As the full extent of John and Tyler's deception became clear, I felt a rage I had never known before. Sitting in my car outside our house, a house that no longer felt like home, I made a decision. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. John and Tyler might think they'd won, but they had no idea what was coming. I was done being the victim. It was time to fight back. John had already proven he was willing to lie and steal, so I couldn't let him see me coming. The next morning, I called in sick to work and met with Lisa Chen, a divorce lawyer Olivia had recommended. Based on what you've told me, Linda, we have a strong case for financial fraud, Lisa said, her eyes sharp behind her glasses. But we'll need ironclad evidence. Can you access all your financial records? I nodded, determination hardening inside me. I'll find a way. At home, I played the role of the dutiful wife, pretending I'd moved past my suspicions. John bought it hook, line, and sinker. I'm glad you've come around, honey, he said one night, kissing my cheek. I knew you'd understand eventually. I forced a smile, bile rising in my throat. Of course, dear. I trust you. Meanwhile, I was gathering evidence as if my life depended on it. I reached out to my company's IT department, spinning a story about a personal project. Hey, Sarah, chirped Alex, our resident tech whiz. What can I do for you? I'm working on tracking some old transactions for a side gig, I lied smoothly. Any tips on how to trace digital money transfers? Alex's eyes lit up. Oh, I've got just the tools for that. Let me show you. Armed with Alex's tech know-how, I dug deeper into our finances. The more I uncovered, the worse it got. John hadn't just been stealing from me, he'd been cooking the books at his own company too. That night, I anonymously tipped off John's company about the embezzlement. This wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. A few days later, all hell broke loose. John came home in a panic, his face ashen. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, his voice shaking. I steeled myself. This was it. "Yes, we do, John." He launched into a frantic explanation about misunderstandings and mistakes, begging for my help to cover his tracks. But I'd had enough of the lies. "Stop, John," I said, my voice cold. "I know everything. The money you stole from our account, from my inheritance, the lies you've been telling about me, the way you've manipulated Emma, and now your little embezzlement scheme at work." John's face crumpled. He fell to his knees, grabbing my hands. "Sarah, please, I'm so sorry. I'll make it right, I swear. We can fix this together." I pulled my hands away. "Fix this, John. You've stolen our daughter's future. You've lied to my face for months. You've tried to turn our friends against me. There's no fixing this." "But I love you," he pleaded, tears in his eyes. "We can start over. Please just give me another chance." "No, John," I said, my voice steady. "It's too late for that. We're done." As I walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The road ahead would be hard. But for the first time in months, I could see a future where Emma and I were free from lies and betrayal. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, Emma working on her homework beside me, when my phone buzzed with a news alert: "Local accountant under investigation for major fraud." The headline screamed at me. My hands shook as I read the article. Emma looked up, concern in her eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" I forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetie, just some work stuff." But I couldn't shield her from the truth for long. The police got involved, freezing John's assets, and Tyler's, too. That same day, I filed for divorce, citing financial abuse and fraud. Lisa, my lawyer, was a godsend through it all. "We've got him, Sarah," she said, her voice fierce. "He won't get away with this." As the truth came to light, our friends and family were stunned. I'll never forget the look on my in-laws' faces when they learned what their son had done. "We had no idea," John's mother sobbed. "Sarah, we're so sorry." Tyler, confronted with the reality of his part in his father's schemes, tried to backpedal. He showed up at our door one day, all bravado gone. "Sarah, I swear I didn't know where the money was coming from," he pleaded. I just shook my head. "Save it, Tyler. You're old enough to know right from wrong." The hardest part was telling Emma. We sat her down one evening, and I explained as gently as I could about her father's betrayal. "But why, Mom?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Why would Dad do this?" I pulled her close. "I don't have Sweetie, but we're going to be okay. I promise." I enrolled Emma in therapy to help her cope with the upheaval. 2 years later, life looks very different. I'm thriving in my career, having earned a promotion last month. Emma, now 12, is excelling in school and has found a passion for soccer. "Mom, did you see that goal I scored?" she yelled, running off the field after a game. I scooped her up in a hug. "I sure did, champ. You were amazing." John is serving time for his crimes, financially ruined. I've heard through the grapevine that Tyler is struggling, working a minimum wage job and living with his mother. As for me, I feel vindicated, stronger than I ever thought possible. Emma and I have built a stable, loving home, free from the toxic influences of our past. Looking back on this journey, I realize that while the betrayal nearly broke me, it also revealed my resilience. Emma and I faced the storm together, and we've come out stronger on the other side. Our future is bright, filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. And that's a happy ending I never saw coming. Now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have given John a second chance? Or do you believe some betrayals are too deep to forgive, even when it comes to family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Sandra. Growing up in a family where the scales always seemed tipped was never easy. My brother David was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Then there was me, always in the background, the afterthought. I met Liam 2 years ago at a friend's art exhibit. He was different, kind, attentive, and incredibly supportive. We connected instantly, bonding over our love for indie films and old books. When he proposed last spring under the blooming cherry blossoms at our favorite park, I said yes without a second thought. We were thrilled, dreaming of a small but beautiful wedding. I even had a wedding fund my parents had promised me, just like they had given David 3 times over. But everything started to fall apart one Sunday afternoon during a family dinner. David announced his 3rd engagement, and the room filled with congratulations and toasts while I sat there, a fake smile plastered on my face. Later, when I casually mentioned my wedding plans to my parents, the room went silent. "You know, Sandra, we had to use some of your wedding fund for David's ceremony," my dad said, not meeting my eyes. "He needed it more, you understand, right?" I felt as though I'd been punched in the gut. "Use some of it? What does that mean?" I managed to ask. My mom's voice was unusually sharp as she added, "Well, it's all gone. We thought you'd take longer to find someone, given your history. David needed it." Just like that, it was gone. I could barely keep the tremor out of my voice. "You promised me. You promised that the money was for my wedding. How could you decide on your own to give it all to David?" "It was necessary, Sandra. Your brother has gone through a lot with his divorces. He needed a fresh start, a proper wedding to set things right," my dad explained, as if it made perfect sense to erase my dreams for David yet again. "And what about me? Don't I deserve a fresh start too?" I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I've been planning and saving with Liam, counting on that fund." My mom's response was cold, dismissive. "You should have been more proactive about your relationships, Sandra. We made a decision based on necessity." I left the dinner early, my heart racing and my mind reeling. Liam was waiting for me at home, and seeing his face was the only thing that felt right. That night, I broke down. We talked for hours and decided that we wouldn't let this destroy our plans. "We'll have our wedding, Sandra, no matter what," Liam reassured me, holding me close. We downsized everything, chose a smaller venue, cut down the guest list, and made homemade decorations. It wasn't the wedding I had imagined, but it would be ours, filled with love, not the weight of betrayal. That night, as I lay beside Liam, a sense of resolve settled over me. My parents had made their choice, and now I was making mine. They would not dictate my happiness. This was the beginning of my new life with Liam, free from favoritism and unfair compromises. The anger and hurt boiled inside me for days after discovering their betrayal. I needed answers, so I arranged to meet my parents for coffee one chilly morning. The air was as tense and cold as my nerves. As soon as we sat down, I couldn't hold back. "Why did you do it? Why did you give David my wedding fund without even discussing it with me?" My dad sighed, rubbing his forehead. "We thought we were making the right choice. David's situation was urgent. He needed to settle down after everything he's been through." "And what about me? What about my wedding?" My voice broke, the hurt evident. My mom looked around nervously, her voice low. "Your brother needed more support, Sandra. You've always been the strong one. So that's it. You decide on my behalf because I'm strong. You spend my wedding fund as if it's nothing." The disbelief and hurt mixed into a bitter cocktail of emotions. "We didn't think you'd be getting married so soon," my dad added, trying to justify their decision. "Honestly, we thought you might back out, considering your past relationships. That's not your decision to make. It was my fund, promised to me. How could you gamble my dreams away on David's 3rd attempt at marriage?" I couldn't hide the scorn in my voice. The conversation grew heated as they piled on justifications, each one striking a nerve. They talked about family obligations and supporting each other, but all I heard was their clear preference for David. Finally, I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. "This isn't just about money. It's about trust, about respect. You've shown where your priorities lie, and sadly, it's not with me." Leaving the cafe, I felt both liberated and sorrowful. The confrontation had laid everything bare. The parents I thought I knew prioritized David over me without remorse. The emotional toll was heavy, and I spent nights ruminating over every word exchanged. It was clear they saw David as the one who needed protection, while I was just expected to cope and move on, always the resilient one. In the weeks that followed, Liam and I continued planning our wedding. We chose a quaint local park for the ceremony, a stark contrast to the lavish venues David had enjoyed. Our decorations were simple but beautiful, handmade with care and love. Our guest list included only those who truly cared for us. No pretenses, no forced smiles. When I sent out the invitations, I made a conscious decision not to include my parents. It hurt, but it was a necessary step to protect my own well-being. They had chosen their path, and now I was choosing mine. Planning our modest wedding became a healing process. With each decision, I reclaimed a piece of myself that had been overshadowed by my family's expectations and favoritism. Liam stood by me, his support unwavering. We were building something true and lasting, far from the shadows of betrayal. This wasn't just about creating a wedding day, but about laying the foundation for our future. A future where our choices mattered and where we were free from the weight of unfair family dynamics. Our wedding day dawned bright and beautiful, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions that had led up to it. The park was bathed in the golden glow of the morning sun, the air fresh and filled with the scent of blooming flowers. It was simple, nothing like the opulent affairs David had, but it was perfect for us. Liam and I had chosen every detail with care, from the wildflowers that lined the makeshift aisle to the gentle acoustic music that played in the background. Our friends and a few family members gathered, their faces bright with genuine happiness and love. There were no ostentatious displays, no unnecessary pomp, just a heartfelt celebration of two people committing to each other. As I walked down the aisle, my heart was full. I glanced at Liam, and the look in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. We were doing this right. Our vows were promises of support and companionship, spoken from the heart. When we kissed, the applause from our small group of guests felt like the sweetest music. We spent the day laughing, dancing, and sharing stories. The reception was a joyous, intimate gathering with homemade food and decorations that our friends helped create. It was a true reflection of who we were as a couple, not just a spectacle for the sake of others. Later, as we shared our wedding photos online, the reactions were immediate and overwhelmingly positive. Friends and distant relatives congratulated us, celebrating the happiness that shone through every picture. However, not everyone was pleased. When my parents saw the photos on social media, their reaction was a mix of shock and fury. They hadn't expected to be excluded, despite everything that had transpired. How could she not invite us to her own wedding? My mother's text read, brimming with indignation and hurt. After everything we've done for her. My father's response was colder and more cutting. Ungrateful. After all the years of support, clearly she's chosen her path. Their messages were a jarring note in our otherwise perfect day, but I had expected them and was prepared. With Liam's hand in mine, I felt strong enough to face the fallout. The next family gathering was tense as news of our decision spread. Whispers and sideways glances followed me whenever I entered the room. Some family members approached, questioning why I hadn't included my parents and hinting at the need for family unity. But as I explained my reasons, with Liam and those who understood supporting me, I felt a resolve within myself. This was about setting boundaries, about respecting our own needs and happiness above toxic family expectations. Despite the backlash, there was also an unexpected outpouring of support. Several cousins and aunts reached out privately, expressing their understanding and sharing their own stories of dealing with family pressures. It was comforting and reaffirming, a reminder that we weren't alone in our struggle for independence and respect. As the days turned into weeks, the initial shock from my parents faded into a strained silence. They made no further attempts to confront me directly, perhaps finally realizing the depth of their mistake. Liam and I moved forward, our bond strengthened by the trials we have faced together. Our wedding wasn't just a ceremony, it was a declaration of our commitment to live on our terms, free from the shadows and expectations that had long clouded my life. It was our first step into a future where our choices and our love were the only things that truly mattered. A few weeks after our wedding, during a routine phone call, the tone shifted abruptly. My mom's voice was strained, laced with a faint casualness. "You know, Sandra, your father and I have been thinking. It's not right what happened. We should have a proper family wedding, a big one where we can invite everyone." I paused, letting the request sink in. Mom, Liam, and I are already married. We had our wedding, the one we wanted. But that was just a tiny thing, she pressed. We're talking about something significant, where we can celebrate with all our friends and family. Think about your father, how much it would mean to him. The conversation took a darker turn when my dad came on the line, his voice unusually somber. "I've been feeling very unwell lately, Sandra. The doctor mentioned stress could be aggravating my heart. Not seeing you get married properly is taking its toll." The guilt trip was palpable, making my heart race with a mix of anger and sadness. I knew this game. Their manipulation had shaped much of my life. But this time, I was no longer the child they could sway with guilt. "Dad, I'm sorry you're feeling unwell, but our wedding has already happened. It was real and meaningful to us. You choosing not to support us beforehand doesn't give you the right to demand a redo now. There was a heavy pause on the line, then my mother's voice, sharper this time. You're being very selfish, Sandra. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By embarrassing us in front of our friends? The old me might have caved, apologized, and tried to mend things, but I had grown, fortified by Liam's love and the support of true friends. No, Mom, what's embarrassing is using your daughter's wedding fund for your son's third marriage without a second thought. Liam and I are happy with how we celebrated our love, and that's all that matters. The call ended abruptly, their words hanging in the air like a bitter aftertaste. I knew this wasn't the end of it, but I felt a newfound strength within me. I wasn't the same person who once feared their disapproval. Days later, a letter arrived, formal and cold. It was an invoice detailing every expense my parents had ever incurred on my behalf, from school fees to the smallest of loans. At the bottom, a note read, "Since you've chosen to exclude us from your life, we believe it's fair you assume these costs." Liam and I laughed hollowly over the absurdity of the document. "Are they serious?" he asked, eyebrows raised. "It's just another manipulation tactic," I said, ripping the letter in half. "But it won't work this time." We decided together that it was time to cut ties officially. I drafted an email, clear and firm, outlining why I was distancing myself from them. It highlighted their lack of respect for my autonomy and their continuous attempts to manipulate my emotions. After sending the email, I felt a surge of freedom mixed with inevitable sadness. It wasn't just about separating from my parents, it was about reclaiming my life. In the weeks that followed, the air around us seemed clearer, our decisions unclouded by guilt or obligation. We were building a life on our own terms, and every small victory felt like a triumph. Their demands for a second wedding and their manipulations had only strengthened my resolve. Liam and I were united, our foundation built on mutual respect and understanding, not on the shifting sands of familial approval. This chapter of my life was about standing firm in my beliefs, about not letting guilt and manipulation dictate my choices. It was about living a life true to myself, and that was the greatest freedom I could have ever claimed. The weeks following my decision to formally distance myself from my parents were filled with a profound, liberating silence. However, that quiet was abruptly broken by a surprise visit from my parents. One afternoon, they showed up at our doorstep unannounced, their faces a mix of determination and feigned concern. "Sandra, we need to talk," my mom said, stepping forward as if to embrace me. I held up my hand, stopping her mid-stride. "There's nothing left to discuss," I replied firmly. "You received my email. I meant every word." My dad's expression hardened. "We're still your parents, Sandra. You can't just cut us out like we mean nothing. I gave you both every chance to be part of my life in a respectful, supportive way. You chose not to take those opportunities," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "What you call meaning nothing is actually me setting boundaries." They attempted to argue, to plead their case, but I was resolute. Liam and I deserve to live in peace without manipulation and guilt-tripping. This is my final decision. The confrontation reached its peak with a clarity that felt almost surreal. "Mom, Dad, I wish things were different, but they aren't. Please respect my wishes and do not contact me again." I stated the finality in my voice, mirroring the closure I sought. After a few moments of tense silence, they left, and with their departure, I felt a weight lift. I blocked their numbers, their emails, and all social media connections. It was a drastic step, but a necessary one that marked the beginning of a truly independent life. In the months that followed, Liam and I thrived. We decorated our small apartment, celebrated each other's successes, and supported one another through challenges. Life without the constant stress of familial expectations was lighter, more joyful. We often spent evenings talking about our dreams and the future we were building together. Each conversation, each plan we made, was a stitch in the new fabric of our life, one untainted by the shadows of the past. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset from our balcony, Liam took my hand. "Do you ever regret it, cutting ties?" he asked gently. I squeezed his hand, my heart full of peace. "No, because it led us here, to this moment, to a life where we are respected and loved for who we are, not for what we can give." Reflecting on everything, I realized the importance of choosing one's own path. It wasn't just about escaping toxicity. It was about honoring oneself, about living a life filled with genuine love and respect. I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the most necessary, and that true happiness often requires us to stand firm against the very forces that claim to love us the most. Liam and I planned trips, explored new hobbies, and built a community of friends who shared our values. We were no longer defined by my familial past, but by the choices we made each day. As I share this story, I hope it serves as a reminder that while family can be a source of great love and support, it should never come at the cost of our self-respect or happiness. Independence isn't just about physical distance, it's about emotional and mental freedom, the kind that allows us to be truly ourselves. Thank you for being part of my journey. Your support means the world. Remember, always choose a path that respects and uplifts you. Stay true, stay bold, and never settle for less than what you deserve. This brings us to the end of Sandra's story. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Do you think Sandra was right to cut ties with her family to preserve her well-being and happiness? Or do you believe there could have been another way to handle the situation? This is a tough decision, and often there's no clear right or wrong answer. Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Hi, I'm Linda, a 32-year-old marketing executive trying to juggle work, family, and, wait for it, the world's most critical mother-in-law. Picture this. I'm in my kitchen, half-inflated balloons scattered everywhere, trying to organize Ethan's 6th birthday party, when my phone buzzes. It's Lamb, my husband. Hey, honey, he says cautiously. Don't freak out, but Mom's coming a day early for Ethan's birthday. I nearly dropped the phone. What? Liam, the house is a disaster. The party's tomorrow. I know, he sighs. She insisted. Said she wanted to help. Help? I mutter under my breath, like a tornado helps when it blows through town. But I take a deep breath and say, fine. Just keep her busy when she gets here, okay? Love you. After hanging up, I look around at the chaos. Superhero decorations everywhere. Ethan's special request. I've spent weeks planning this, determined to make everything perfect, even ordering the custom cake with his favorite character on it. But with Martha arriving early, I know things are about to get complicated. An hour later, the sound of Martha's car pulling into the driveway fills me with dread. I plaster on a fake smile as she breezes into the house, swinging her designer handbag like a trophy. Oh, Brielle, darling, she says, air kissing my cheeks. What? Interesting decorations. I bite my tongue. Thanks, Martha. Ethan picked the theme. She eyes a Batman cutout with distaste. Well, when Derek was young, we always had such elegant parties. I force a tight smile. I'm sure you did. I turn away before my eyes can fully roll back in my head. She follows me into the kitchen, clicking her tongue at the dishes in the sink. My goodness, Brielle, don't you ever clean? I've been a little busy with the party, I say through gritted teeth. Well, let's see what you've done so far, she insists, rummaging through the party favors. Oh dear, store-bought goodie bags. I always made homemade treats for Derek's friends. I force a laugh. Not all of us have your talents, Martha. She pats my arm condescendingly. Don't worry, dear. I'm sure the children won't mind too much. Just then, Ethan comes racing in, full of excitement. Grandma, you're here early. Martha's face lights up. There's my precious boy. Come give Grandma a hug. As they embrace, I can't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Why can she ever be that warm with me? Grandma, wanna see my cake? Ethan asks, eyes wide with excitement. I'm sure it's lovely, sweetie, Martha replies, throwing me a skeptical glance, though I do hope it's not too commercial. I clench my fists. It's from the best bakery in town, Martha. I'm sure it'll be great. She hums doubtfully. Well, we'll see tomorrow, won't we? As Martha leads Ethan away, I lean against the counter, exhausted. It's going to be a long 24 hours. Liam comes in, looking apologetic. Hey, how's it going? Oh, just peachy, I say, giving him a pointed look. Your mother's been here 10 minutes, and she's already planning to take over. He sighs. I'm sorry. You know how she is. She means well. The she I snap, then immediately regret it. Sorry. I'm just stressed. Liam wraps his arms around me. I know, but tomorrow will be great. Ethan will love it, and that's all that matters, right? I nod, trying to believe him. The next morning, I wake up at dawn, heart racing with excitement and anxiety. Today's the big day. Martha or no Martha, I'm determined to make this perfect. I sneak out to pick up the cake, a superhero masterpiece I can't wait to show Ethan. But when I return home, my bubble bursts. Martha is circling the cake like a vulture. Brielle, she says, her voice oozing fake sweetness, is this really the cake you chose? I take a deep breath. Yes, Martha, it's exactly what Ethan wanted. She purses her lips. Well, I suppose children don't have the most refined tastes. Before I can respond, the doorbell rings. Saved by the bell, literally, I put on my best smile and start welcoming guests. The next hour is a whirlwind of kids, presents, and me trying to keep everything under control while Liam keeps shooting worried glances between me and his mother. Then I hear Ethan shouting from the kitchen, "Grandma, no." I rush in, my heart in my throat, and see the nightmare in front of me. The custom superhero cake smashed on the floor, and Martha standing there smugly, holding a store-bought cake. What happened? I gasp. Martha sniffs. That monstrosity wasn't good enough for my grandson. I got him a proper cake. Ethan bursts into tears. I wanted my superhero cake. I kneel beside him, trying to comfort him, while glaring at Martha. It's okay, sweetie, we can fix this. But the damage is done. The party is descending into chaos. Kids whispering, parents staring, and me caught between comforting Ethan and dealing with Martha. I shoot Liam a look. Do something. He looks like a deer in headlights. Mom, maybe you should. Should what? Martha interrupts, her voice dripping with superiority. Save this disaster of a party? You're welcome, by the way. That's it. I've had enough. Everyone, I say, my voice trembling. I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to end the party early. The next few minutes were a blur of rushed apologies and handing out goodie bags as I ushered the guests out. Finally, it was just the four of us. Me, Liam, Ethan, and Martha. Martha dusted off her hands, oblivious. Well, she said, that was certainly eventful. I turned to her, the fury bubbling up inside me. Martha, I think you should leave. She blinked in surprise. Leave? But the party's over. Exactly. Thanks to you, I snapped. Liam, finally finding his voice, chimed in. Mom, I think Brielle's right. We need some family time. Martha huffed, gathering her things. Without another word, she marched out the door. As it clicked shut, I slumped against the wall, utterly drained. I'm sorry, babe, Liam said, wrapping his arm around me, but I shrugged him off. Not now, Liam. We need to salvage this for Ethan. We spent the rest of the evening trying to cheer up our little boy, playing games, opening presents, even managing to piece together some of the original cake. By bedtime, Ethan was smiling again, but I was still seething. As I tucked him in, I made a silent vow. Martha would never ruin another family event. I didn't know how, but I was going to put a stop to her toxic behavior once and for all. The days following Ethan's birthday felt like walking through a fog. I couldn't shake the anger, the humiliation, the sheer unfairness of it all. Liam tried to comfort me, but his reassurances felt hollow. How could he not see how much his mother was damaging our family? Desperate for an outlet, I called my best friend Zoe. After pouring out everything, she didn't hold back. Girl, you've got to stand up to that woman. This has been going on for years. I know, I sighed, but how? Liam always takes her side and the rest of his family is completely under her spell. Document everything, Zoe suggested. Every nasty comment, every backhanded compliment. Build your case. It was like a light bulb went off. I started keeping a file on my phone, jotting down every interaction with Martha, the texts criticizing my parenting, the voicemails laced with passive-aggressive jabs, the helpful suggestions that always left me feeling 2 inches tall. I even started seeing a therapist, Dr. Chen, to unpack the years of Martha's toxicity. You're not crazy, Brielle, Dr. Chen told me during one session. What you're experiencing is emotional abuse. Hearing it spoken out loud was both validating and terrifying. But Martha wasn't done with me yet. One afternoon, I overheard Liam on the phone with his cousin. No, Mom's just worried about Ethan, that's all. You know how Brielle can be sometimes. As soon as he hung up, I confronted him. What was that about? Liam looked like a kid caught stealing candy. Nothing, just family stuff. Family stuff? Like your mother telling everyone I'm an unfit mom. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. Liam, this has to stop. Don't you see what she's doing to us? He ran a hand through his hair. Look, maybe if you just apologize to her about the birthday thing. I couldn't believe my ears. Apologize? For what? For trying to give our son a nice birthday before she ruined it. Bri, please, he begged. It would make things easier for everyone. That was my breaking point. I realized that if things were going to change, I'd have to be the one to make it happen. The next day, I got a text from Martha. Dropping by this afternoon to check on my grandson. Hope you've managed to keep the house clean this time. As I stared at the message, a plan started to form. It was time to take action, not just for me, but for Ethan and the future of our family. I called Zoo. Hey, I need a favor, I said. Can you come over this afternoon and bring your video camera? Oh, sounds intriguing, she replied. What's the plan? I took a deep breath. We're going to expose Martha for who she really is. I'm done being her punching bag. As I hung up, a mix of nerves and determination surged through me. I glanced at a photo of Ethan on my desk, his bright smile reminding me why this fight was so important. Don't worry, buddy, I whispered. Mommy's going to fix this. Thanksgiving arrived, and my heart raced as we pulled up to Liam's parents' house. I clutched my bag, filled with evidence of Martha's years of manipulation. As we walked inside, Martha swooped down on us like a hawk. Oh, there's my darling Ethan. Brielle, dear, you look tired. Are you sleeping enough? She said, her tone dripping with false concern. I bit my tongue, reminding myself to stick to the plan. Finally, as everyone gathered in the living room, I knew it was time. Actually, Martha, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I'd like to address something with the family. She waved a hand dismissively. Oh, Brielle, now's not the time for your little dramas. But this time, I wasn't backing down. I pulled out my phone and said, I think you all need to hear this. The room fell silent as I played recording after recording of Martha's harsh words. Texts criticizing my parenting flashed on the screen. Gasps echoed as the family heard their own experiences reflected in my evidence. This has been happening for years, I explained. And it's not just me. How many of you have quietly suffered under Martha's love? Slowly, hands began to rise. Cousins, aunts, even Martha's own sister nodded in recognition. Mom, is this true? Liam asked, his voice heavy. Have you really been treating Brielle, and all of us, like this? Martha's face flushed as she sputtered. I was only trying to help. You all need guidance. No, Mom, Liam interrupted, his tone firm. What we need is respect and kindness. You haven't been giving that to any of us. Martha looked around, desperate for an ally, but found none. You're all turning against me after everything I've done for this family. Liam's father finally spoke up. Martha, I think it's time you left. In the whirlwind that followed, Martha was escorted out, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk. Stories poured out. Years of frustration, hurt, and silent suffering. Liam focused on healing. He started therapy, working through years of enabling behavior, and we set clear boundaries with the family. We learned to communicate better, and most importantly, we protected Ethan from Martha's toxic influence. Ethan thrived. His laughter filled our home, and the tension that had long been an undercurrent in our lives finally lifted. A year later, we celebrated Ethan's 7th birthday. The party was everything I had hoped for, joyous, drama-free, filled with love and laughter. As I watched Ethan blow out his candles, surrounded by genuine smiles, a wave of pride washed over me. We had come so far. Liam wrapped his arm around my waist. You did it, babe. You saved our family. I leaned into him. We did it together. He kissed my forehead. I'm so sorry it took me so long to see the truth. But I'm here now, and I promise no one will ever treat you like that again. As I looked around at our happy home, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. Now that you've heard my story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Was I right to expose Martha's behavior, or should family issues stay private? How would you have handled the situation? Share your experiences in the comments. My name's Harper. I'm 35, thriving in my marketing career, and for a while, I thought I had life all figured out. Then James came along, sweeping me off my feet. Before I knew it, we were walking down the aisle, saying, I do. Crazy, right? But here's the twist. James came with a 12-year-old son, Tyler. Moving in with them felt like stepping into a minefield. I tried everything to win Tyler over. Hey, buddy, I made your favorite lasagna, I'd say, hoping for a smile. Instead, I get an eye roll and a mumbled, whatever. It was like talking to a brick wall. One night, I offered to help Tyler with his math homework. Let's tackle these fractions together, I suggested. He slammed the book shut and snapped. I don't need your help. You're not my mom. I turned to James, expecting him to step in. He just shrugged. Give him time. But time didn't fix things. Tyler's attitude only worsened. He ignored curfew, left messes everywhere, and constantly talked back. Whenever I tried to set boundaries, James would undercut me. Harper, don't be so hard on him, he'd say. It was like I was losing my mind. Was I the problem? I needed to vent, so I called my best friend, Olivia. Girl, you won't believe what Tyler did today. I started. Spill the tea, she said, and I did. About Tyler's disrespect, James's lack of support, the whole mess. Olivia listened, then said, Harper, honey, these are some serious red flags. Are you sure you're not in over your head? I don't know, Liv. I love James, but this is so rough. I get it, she said, but don't lose yourself trying to fix it. You matter too. Her words stuck with me, but I wasn't ready to give up. I threw myself into work, hoping things would smooth out at home. Big mistake. A few weeks later, my boss, Mr. Peterson, called me into his office. Harper, is everything okay? Your last few presentations have been off. I forced a smile. Everything's fine, sir. Just a little stressed, but I'll get back on track. But as I left, I knew I wasn't fine. Something had to change. Then the phone rang. It was the school. This is Miss Thompson, Tyler's teacher. We need you to come in immediately, she said, her tone serious. My stomach dropped. I rushed to the school, my mind racing. Had Tyler gotten into trouble? Was he hurt? When I arrived, Miss Thompson's expression was grim. Mrs. Walker, Tyler has made a serious accusation against you. What? What are you talking about? I asked, my heart pounding. He claims you've been physically abusing him, she said quietly. The world stopped. That's impossible. I would never. I felt like I was drowning. Miss Thompson didn't waver. We take these allegations very seriously. Child Protective Services has been notified. Just then, James burst in. What's going on? Miss Thompson explained the situation. I turned to James, desperate for him to defend me. You know this isn't true, right? But James looked torn. He turned to Tyler. Is this true? Did Harper hurt you? Tyler, avoiding eye contact, nodded. Last week, she hit me while you were at work. That never happened, I shouted, losing my composure. A CPS worker arrived soon after. Mrs. Walker, we'll need you to leave the family home during our investigation. Leave? But I didn't do anything. James finally spoke, his voice low. Maybe it's for the best, Harper, just until we figure this out. It felt like a slap. You can't seriously believe this. James wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't know what to believe right now. In a daze, I packed a bag and called Olivia. Can I stay with you? I'll explain everything when I get there. At her apartment, I broke down. Between sobs, I told her everything. That little brat. Olivia fumed. And James, how dare he not stand up for you? I don't know what to do, Liv. My whole life is falling apart. Olivia hugged me tight. First things first, we're getting you a lawyer. I know just the person. The next day, we met with Sandra Davis, a sharp-eyed attorney specializing in family law. This is a serious situation, Harper, Sandra said, but false accusations do happen. We'll fight this. Back at work, whispers followed me everywhere. Did you hear Harper beat her stepson? My colleague Mark asked. I always thought there was something off about her. Later, Mark approached my desk. Tough break, huh? Kids say the darndest things. He's lying, Mark. I didn't touch him, I said through gritted teeth. Hey, I'm just saying, where there's smoke. He trailed off as I stormed away, locking myself in the bathroom. I called Olivia, my voice shaking. I can't do this, Liv. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. Listen to me, Olivia said, her voice steady. You were strong. You were innocent. We'll get through this. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked tired, scared, but there was a spark of determination in my eyes. I will not let them break me, I whispered to myself. I will fight this, and I will win. In the following weeks, Sandra and I worked tirelessly to build my case. We need character witnesses, she explained. Anyone who can vouch for your relationship with Tyler. I thought hard. Mr. Peterson, he's seen me with Tyler at company picnics. When I called, Mr. Peterson didn't hesitate. Of course I'll testify. I've seen you with Tyler. You're patient and kind." Tears welled up as I hung up. At least someone believed in me. Sandra also arranged for a psychological evaluation. After several sessions, Dr. Ramirez concluded, "I see no signs of abusive tendencies. In fact, you show a strong desire to nurture and protect." It was a small victory, but I'd take what I could get. Meanwhile, James had gone radio silent. The few times he did reach out, it was all about him. "People are talking, Harper. This is really affecting my business," he said one day. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Your business, James? My entire life is falling apart." He hung up without another word. A few days later, Olivia called, her voice tight with anger. "You won't believe what I just heard." "What now?" I sighed. "I was at Starbucks and overheard James talking to some neighbors. He was bad-mouthing you, Harper, saying he should have known better than to marry someone he barely knew." The betrayal stung like a physical blow. "He said that after everything I've done for him and Tyler?" "I'm so sorry, honey. You deserve better than this," Olivia said gently. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Miss Thompson, Tyler's teacher, contacted Sandra, requesting an urgent meeting. "I've noticed some inconsistencies in Tyler's story," she explained, looking uncomfortable. "And, well, I did some digging. This isn't the first time Tyler has made false accusations." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" Miss Thompson sighed. "Last year, he accused a teacher of favoritism when he didn't get the lead in the school play. It was investigated and found to be completely fabricated." Sandra leaned forward. "And you're just bringing this up now?" "I feel terrible," Miss Thompson admitted. "I should have looked into this history more thoroughly before escalating things. I'm here to make it right." As the investigation deepened, more truths came to light. Tyler's school counselor revealed a pattern of manipulative behavior, often playing James and me against each other. "Tyler shows signs of severe emotional neglect," the counselor explained. "He creates drama to get attention." It all started making sense: the acting out, the lies, the manipulation. Tyler was crying out for help in the worst way possible. But the most shocking revelation came from Tyler's best friend, Kevin. In a moment of guilt, Kevin confessed to Sandra that Tyler had bragged about his plan. He said he was going to make up stuff about his stepmom so his dad would kick her out, Kevin admitted. He said his dad always believes him and buys him stuff to make up for it. I felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger, pity, and heartbreak. Tyler had been hurting for so long, and James had been too blind to see it. As the truth unraveled, I couldn't help but think back to all the red flags I'd ignored. How James would brush off Tyler's bad behavior, the expensive gifts that appeared after every tantrum. I should have seen it, I told Olivia over coffee. I was so focused on making things work, I missed what was really going on. "You can't blame yourself," Olivia said, squeezing my hand. "You were trying to be a good wife and stepmom." I nodded, a new determination settling in. "You're right. Now it's time to start fighting for myself." The day the case was officially dropped should have felt like a victory, but it was bittersweet. My name was cleared, but the damage was done. I couldn't go back to that house, to James and Tyler. It wasn't home anymore. I met with Sandra to discuss the next steps. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Sandra nodded, unsurprised. "We'll cite James's lack of support and Tyler's false accusations. It should be straightforward." Straightforward, maybe, but not easy. Every signature on those papers felt like closing a chapter of my life I'd never get back. At work, I threw myself into every project. Mr. Peterson noticed. "Harper, your performance these past few months has been exceptional," he said during my review. "I'm promoting you to senior marketing director." I nearly fell out of my chair. "Thank you, sir. I don't know what to say." He smiled. "There's more. The position is in our New York office. A fresh start, if you want it." I didn't even hesitate. "I'll take it." As I packed up my life, Olivia helped, filling me in on the local gossip. "James is having a rough time," she said. "Lost a bunch of clients when the truth came out. And Tyler, he got suspended for bullying. Guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree." I felt a twinge of something, not quite sympathy, but something close. I hoped they got the help they needed. Both of them. New York was everything I needed. A new job, a new apartment, a new me. I even started volunteering at a youth center, mentoring kids from troubled homes. It felt good to use my experiences to help others. 2 years flew by, and one afternoon I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant brought in a letter. The return address made my heart skip. Tyler's old school. Inside was a note from Miss Thompson. Dear Harper, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to inform you that Tyler has been caught in a serious lie at his new school. He's facing expulsion. James has reached out for help, but I thought you should know. Sincerely, Miss Thompson. I sat back, a whirlwind of emotions hitting me. Part of me wanted to laugh at that irony. Another part itched for the troubled kid I tried so hard to help. You okay, boss? My assistant Jen asked. You look like you've seen a ghost. I smiled, folding the letter. Just a blast from the past, nothing to worry about. That night, as I got ready for my date with Michael, a kind, understanding man I'd met through my volunteer work, I thought about how far I'd come. 2 years ago, I was fighting to prove my innocence. Now, I was thriving in a job I loved, helping kids who needed it, and dating someone who respected me. As Michael and I walked to dinner, hand in hand, I realized something. I was happy, truly, genuinely happy. What are you smiling about? Michael asked, squeezing my hand. I looked up at the New York skyline, my adopted home, just thinking about how sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead us to the best places. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Well, I'm glad whatever happened led you here. Me too, I thought. I'd survived, I'd thrived, and I'd found happiness. Meanwhile, those who had wronged me were facing the consequences of their actions. It wasn't about revenge, it was about justice, and the best revenge was living well. As we entered the restaurant, I made a decision. That letter, I wasn't going to respond. That chapter of my life was closed. I had a new story to write, and I couldn't wait to see how it unfolded. The story ends here, but the conversation is just beginning. What would you have done in Harper's shoes? If you received that letter about Tyler 2 years later, would you have responded, offering help despite the pain he caused? Or would you have kept that chapter firmly closed? Your experiences shape your perspective, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your answer in the comments below.